Greetings, conservatives. This is your humble host, John Moraga, and we are back with more ConservaCast. We look forward to keeping you informed with the latest and most relevant commentary of conservative issues. So without further ado, here are a few topics I'd like to discuss. No, you did not lose your mind. No, you did not lose your hearing. What you just heard is what I believe the vast majority, the tens of millions of adult Americans are hearing right now. What's going on in this impeachment circus is flying over the heads of millions of Americans. Now, for political junkies, for politicians, for journalists, for news people, there's a lot going on and a lot to talk about. But for the vast majority of Americans, it's just over the heads. And what a lot of people don't realize, who are political junkies, who are journalists, news people, politicians, whatever, they don't realize how ridiculous this all sounds. They don't pull back from it and try and look at what's going on in the rest of the country. People have real problems. People have real issues. People do not have time to figure out all of the details of the impeachment process. Most people don't even know what impeachment is. Most people assume that if a president is impeached, he's automatically removed from office. There are many, many, many people, many Americans, millions of Americans who don't even understand the very basic concept that if a president is impeached, he's impeached through the House, and then the Senate has to decide whether or not they remove him. There's a whole process in place. Most people don't know, and even more people don't care, even if they did know. It's unfortunate that people aren't involved, that people aren't informed of more about our political system and our civics. But because they aren't, we have to understand that most of this is just going over their heads. Now, that's for a big chunk, a big percentage of America. For the percentage of Americans who actually are following this, of those people, it becomes a headache. It becomes overwhelming. It becomes confusing. It becomes something that isn't what they want to focus on in the first place. There are potential dangers of Iran, potential dangers of China, potential dangers that are going on in our own country, drug issues, gang issues. I mean, there are so many other things that Americans who are involved in politics, who are involved in current events, would much rather spend their time on. Now, in no way am I undermining the severity of impeachment and the need to have it as a tool in our government. My point is that what has led up to this situation has become something so complicated and overplayed, so to speak, that, as I said at the offset, the vast majority of people don't even know what it's about, don't care to know what it's about, but even those who do know and do follow it have started to have a glazed look in their face. Because, to be honest, as these things led up, if you have been following this, there was first the Russia conspiracy, or the Russia accusations with President Trump that he colluded with Russia to essentially steal the 2016 election. For whatever reason, whatever things went into place, however effectively his legal team fought those charges, or whether objectively he just didn't do it, In this video, I'm not arguing one way or the other. I want to focus on the impeachment going on right now. However it played out, that Trump wasn't indicted, convicted, or whatever phrase you want to use on that issue, it appears to be that now his opponents, i.e. the Democrats in Congress and other activists out there, they aren't the only ones. They obviously have support from other people and other organizations. But whoever they are who don't like Trump or care for Trump, or even some who just are objective in their legal analysis. I'm not trying to paint too broad of a brush here. I did have a video talking about painting too broad of a brush. My point is just that this seems to be a 2.0 of the Russia collusion accusations. Now, whether they are or not is a different story. My point is just that's the appearance that's given, either to people who are in the in and are following this and kind of see this as, didn't we already kind of do this with the Russia accusations, and maybe they're part and parcel of the same thing. But if people who are involved and people who are political junkies and follow these types of stories have the feeling that this is kind of a redo, kind of a rehashing of things, or just kind of a nonstop attack on President Trump, then the outside population who doesn't follow all of this, they even more than those who do follow it feel that this is just too much to understand. They've just given up on what is occurring right now in the House and Congress, because, again, they especially feel, why is there a constant attack of President Trump, even if they don't like him, even if they don't care for him? I'm trying to give some everyday Joe perspective here. Even if they didn't vote for him, even if they don't like him, there is a very understandable and strong perception that this is just something that is very biased, very consistent, and is starting to play very hard on a bigger population than the Democrats or those who don't like Trump in Congress really want to realize. I think this is backfiring on them to the point that it will provide Trump an easier reelection in 2020 rather than hindering his chances and his odds. This is playing out in a way that the people that they're trying to convince, whether they're independents or swing voters, the proverbial swing voter that's out there, I think, at least my opinion, it's backfiring big time. Because the average person who has a 9-to-5 or who has children who have much bigger things to worry about than watching the news and following a political process, they could care less. It's really something for only the die-hard, never-Trumpers, either liberal or conservative, self-proclaimed conservatives who undeniably have conservative beliefs. They don't like him. They don't like Trump. Whatever category or whatever area that you fall in or a person falls in, it's becoming a one camp, liberal and or conservative people who don't like Trump. They're people who are in the know, who are very politically savvy, who are very well informed in some areas. But for the vast majority of people who either aren't very political and may just want to vote in the presidential election, or just don't really care to know until a few days, weeks before the election happens, this is flying over their head. And at some points, in some places, to some people, it's actually helping President Trump because he is being viewed as a victim Ironically as it may seem, as loudmouth as he is, and as much of a bully as he is portrayed, this is actually making him look like a victim. I know it sounds crazy to a lot of people. I know there may be some people who do agree with me and understand what I'm saying. But I just think this is something that is very bad for the Democrats and others who don't like President Trump and would like to see him removed from office. I think the more that they play this card, the more they go at it, the more Adam Schiff tries to do things. It just looks very petty. It looks very juvenile. Even if, let's just say, for benefit of the doubt, even if there is some objective truth to their claims, the form has just been soiled. What do I mean by that? I mean, the approach that they've taken has just been completely soiled is really all that I can think of. Blurred, tainted, any other adjective you might want to use to describe. What they've done is now given a poor presentation of their argument. It's like, I don't know, a quick example is if you were to go to the difference between a high school play with high school people, and I used to be in theater in high school, but admittedly, we weren't the best, most professional people. But it's the difference between going to see a high school play or a very well-performed professional play at a theater where actors know what they're doing and know how to convey their lines. It's a stark contrast. And so most people would scratch their heads and say, you know what? You want my tickets to that play? Go ahead. It may be a poor analogy or a poor example of what I'm trying to convey, but it's just, even if there was something to their argument, even if Trump did everything that they said he did, they've just really lost credibility to go after him. It's just no longer something that the vast majority of Americans, I believe, are interested in. So whatever the outcome of it is, I don't think he will be removed from office. I didn't think he was actually going to be impeached. And the intricacies of that and the hearings and however they classify the impeachment inquiry, even that has been something that pretty much is left to legal scholars. What's the technical definition of impeachment or impeachment inquiry or impeachment hearings? At what point is he actually impeached by the House? And then is it sent to the Senate for them to decide whether or not he's removed from office or if he's absolved from these? I mean, this whole process is just so convoluted that even people in the know are rolling their eyes. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to come to the point where he's removed from office. And so all of this process, all of this theatrics are going to be are going to be basically useless. And I think will backfire on the Democrats. So whether or not you like President Trump, I believe these things are helping him. These impeachment hearings are helping him. These attacks are helping him. For better, for worse, whether you like him or not. That's just my humble opinion. So if you don't like him, you probably want to rein this kind of thing in. If you do like him, you might actually be cheering this on because it may be working to your benefit if you want to see him reelected in 2020. That's just my opinion.
Thanks for joining us once again, and we hope you will invite your friends and family to join us in our efforts to champion conservatism for generations to come.